everyone, and welcome back to This Month in Realty. Today, I'm super happy to have back Jamie Harnish. Now, Jamie is an agent with Bosley Real Estate in the Toronto market in Canada. And Jamie, before we get into the market update, tell me, as an American, what I would need to know to move to Toronto.
Sure. The first thing would be the common words that you need to pronounce in order to kind of assimilate into being Canadian. So you have to end every sentence with A. You have to, if you drink orange juice in the morning, you have to convert that to maple syrup. Other than that, you'd be fine. Or did you mean like buying houses?
Buying a house, yes.
Okay. I'm sorry. I thought you said.
I'd like to talk about housing.
We can talk about it. So I think it really depends on where somebody is coming from the States. So I think if somebody's coming from, like a major market, like a major urban center, so maybe it's New York or maybe it's San Francisco or something like that, then our prices will be either equivalent or cheaper. And so it might be a little bit of a bargain compared to a New Yorker or somebody who's from San Francisco, something like that. But probably a lot of other places in the States, Midwest or something like that, it'll probably be a big sticker shock. And that would go not just for Toronto, but the surrounding area as well. So it's the biggest urban center in Canada. Toronto is the biggest city in Canada, and we're the, I guess, fifth biggest city in North America. So sometimes people kind of forget that we've got a big city up here, and Toronto is it. So it can be quite expensive to some people for sure.
Okay. Well, that's cool. The maple syrup is a good touch there. So now that we've got that out of the way, tell me about the market.
Don't forget about the igloos too. So the market for March was a total stunner. Sales year over year compared to March of last year were up 86%. So we're approaching, shocker even for you, right?
Yeah.
We're getting towards numbers where the number of sales that happened in March were almost double what they did in March of last year. Now, March traditionally is not a super busy month. So when you look at March of 2020 in particular, was towards the end of it is kind of where COVID happened. But the sales numbers for March 2020 were still pretty similar to March 2019 and March 2018. So they weren't really all that different. It was kind of like more April and May where COVID kind of like really quieted the market and kind of turned down the number of sales and new listings and that kind of stuff. But March was fairly typical. March of this year was incredibly busy. For both the core area and the area surrounding, sales were up 40% and 36% respectively. And they were the highest number of sales for each of those areas for as long as I've been tracking those two areas specifically, which is the fall of 2017. And I'm doubtful that there were numbers higher than that in early in the year either. So we're talking like basically highest sales numbers for any month kind of ever. Which was good and bad. It kind of, again, it depends on what side of the equation that you're on.
Interesting. That is so cool to know that, and to be able to recite that. Good for you. I noticed you talked earlier about a trend that favors buyers coming on the market. Before we got on the air, we were talking about that. Tell me more about that trend.
Yeah. So what was interesting for March is, sales were way up, right? Which shows a huge demand for properties. But what was interesting was that new listings were up actually quite a bit as well. And the gap between how many sales there were and how many new listings there were, so I'll do my hands the other way, new listings and sales, the gap between them actually widened. So even though there were a huge number of sales, proportionally speaking, there was a greater number of new listings compared to the previous month as well. So we actually saw, when you look at the sales to new listing ratio, which is kind of what I like to view, and I think what a lot of people view as a metric for demand, when you look at the ratio between those two things, it actually went down a little bit. And so if that trend continues into April and May, which traditionally speaking are our busiest months, both for new listings and sales, if that gap actually continues to widen and the stock of homes actually kind of continues to go up, then we may actually see some relief for buyers. Now, relief does not mean a price correction or anything like that, which hopefully, a lot of buyers aren't necessarily clinging to. It would just mean that instead of being one of 15 people lining up for any one house, they might be one of 5 or one of 6, because the buyers might be able to be spread out a little bit more across the inventory, which would be a huge bonus, because buyers are really suffering right now, for sure.
I agree. I agree. Across both countries right now. So Jamie, how would somebody reach you?
Any platform that they're watching this video, certainly they're always welcome to kind of send me a DM or make a comment on the video. I'm quite responsive in that regard. If they want to reach me directly, my cell number is 416-428-8892. That's 416-428-8892. jharnish@bosleyrealestate.com is my email. Or like literally, if you just Google me, Jamie Harnish, I come up, my website comes up, hit me up. I'm not a hard person to find.
I'm going to put everything in the details down below. So this has been This Month in Realty. Tune in next month to hear more from Jamie and other real estate experts in Canada and the United States. Take care.